let's go, because you know what I came here to do. So after getting stopped by Joe Joyce last year, Joseph Parker continues his rehabilitation. He beat Jack Massey, whose best work is known as a cruiserweight, but in all truth, you could question if Jack Massey is even a top 5 cruiserweight in the UK. Massey gave Parker quite a tough time over 10 rounds. That was January of this year on the Smith Eubank undercard. It looks like Parker's parted ways with Sky, and he's probably got a nice little bag for this fight here against Fegu Apelu, who looked a lot smaller than Joseph Parker. And they just showed highlights of Parker steadying him with a jab and unleashing a barrage of straight lefts and rights and some hooks mixed in there. And Apelu, he didn't quit, but under the barrage he was forced to turn away for refuge. Fell to his knees for a count and the referee stopped it. Tyson Fury jumped up on the ring apron like Joseph Parker just won back his WBO belt. I guess one of the pluses is Parker, who weighed 250 for the Derek Chisora rematch and 250 for the Joe Joyce loss, is getting his weight down to a more suitable 240, which suits him a lot better in terms of his hand speed, though you can't really judge too much against this opponent here because he just came forward with his shorter arms. Guard was nowhere near tight enough for the first round. He just didn't have the defense. No, using his legs to get away from Joseph Parker. So it's hard to judge what Joe Parker has left in the tank. You know what I mean? But in terms of matchmaking, it was a bit of a farce. In all truth, it was a bit of a farce. He'd have been better off rematching Jack Massey, who took him the distance. Now, your boy Tyson Fury wasn't there just to support Joseph Parker. Dempsey McKean, Australian-based heavyweight signed to Matchroom. His manager, Angelo Di Carlo, confirmed that there has been talks between Team Fury and Dempsey McKean to fight in Australia. What does that mean? Well, Fury recently gave Bob Arum an ultimatum to get him a fight or give him his contract back, and recently Fury said he's going to sign a 10-fight contract. Who with? Re-sign with Arum, re-sign with Warren? I don't see him signing a long-term contract with Eddie Hearn. I just don't see it. I'm not too sure what's up with his contract situation with Top Rank. They were saying that there was one fight left on the contract, but that's been the situation for a while, but that fight had to take place in America. Obviously he can't travel to America because of his association with Daniel Kinahan, but perhaps the time has expired on the contract. What's his next move? Saturday, Shakur Stevenson was very vocal that Vasyl Lomachenko was robbed. He had the fight 8-4 in Lomachenko's favor. Now, he was on Stamina for Sale recently and he's had a change of heart. He's saying the fight was either a draw or 7-5 to Loma. And a lot of people are questioning his change of heart. Is it just genuine boxing observation? Or is he trying to stay on code with certain sections of black media and black boxing fans over there? Because it is very divisive over there. Like, England has a sullied past with racism in boxing, it does. But if we're talking about present day boxing, it's very surface level over America, bubbling over. And more often than not, it can be a case of pick a side. Now, Shakur is allowed to change his mind, of course, but if he's changing his mind to appease one side or the other, he needs to grow up here. July the 29th, T-Mobile Arena, Crawford versus Spence for the undisputed 147-pound titles. Finally, both men are getting on. Crawford is 35, Spence is 33. The fight is a few years overdue. You don't want to jinx it by saying anything, literally. Both men are guaranteed 8 figures, so they got the money sorted out. That's very important. So make sure you collect the money for. There is a 2-way rematch clause which has to be activated within 30 days of the first fight. Yeah? The 2-fight deal, Crawford is now a PBC fighter who's opted to cross to that side of the street. The 2-fight deal has to be done and dusted by the end of this year. So a rubber match would probably end up in 2023 at 154. Both men are expected to move up, maybe after the first or second fight. Whoever is triumphant after the potential 2 or 3 fights will be expected to challenge Jermell Charlo for all 4 straps at 154. It's like they got it all planned out over there. PARO has had a bad run with injuries. The 27-year-old Australian, 23-0, 14 inside the distance, suffered a facial fracture, cancelling his fight with Robbie Davis in March. And he's withdrawn from the Regis PROGRAIS fight, and it just says injury. PROGRAIS WBC champion at 140 has a new opponent, 29 years of age, from Puerto Rico. His name is DANIELITO ZORRILLA. 17 wins, 13 inside the distance, 1 loss. That was to Arnold Barboza midway through last year. No shame in that. He since came back with a stoppage win this year, albeit against an overmatched opponent. Zorrillo, he'll come to fight. He's aggressive, but it's unlikely he has the ring craft or skill to take the belt of Regis. The fight will take place on the 17th June at the Smoothie King Center, New Orleans. I like Julian J-Rock Williams, but this is a bit of a problem with boxing. I mean, we're dealing with someone who's had 3 fights since 2019. 2 of them losses. One was where he lost his straps to Jason Rosario, TKO 5. Then he loses a split decision to a total outsider, Vladimir Hernandez, and looked terrible in that fight. I saw it. He's come back with 1 win this year against Rolando Mencilla, who's 18-11-1. And now that qualifies him to challenge Carlos Adames for his WBA interim title. I mean, what are the WBC playing at? They won't strip Charlo for nothing. Charlo has gone over 700 days without defending that title. But watch them be really strict if Adames says, well, I don't really want to take this fight. You denied me a mandatory shot at the full scrap for how long now? Watch them get all draconian on Adames. It's ridiculous. It's a bit of a worrying trend across the pond. Ryan Garcia was recently knocked out by Tank, and now they're talking about giving him a straight shot at Rowley, who got a straight shot at that WBA 140-pound title after getting knocked out by Tank. And then there's the circumstances how Rowley actually won the fight against old face Barroso, who was schooling him. It's a farce. And although J-Rock has won his last fight, it's just not really acceptable. He lost his last 2 at 154, and he's had 1 fight at 160 against someone with an 18-11-1 record. You get to fight for the interim title. Frazer Clarke addressing the Fabio Wardley situation. He said it broke him. The British Boxing Board of Control, they called the purse bid after 258 management rung the board up and asked to put Frazer's name forward as a possible challenger for Fabio Wardley's British title. Now, there seems to be some fallout between 258 and Benn, who, upon hearing the British Boxing Board of Control order the fight, he went public and said the fight's not happening yet. Frazer will be disappointed, but it's not his time yet, etc., etc. They claim they wanted another fight on June the 10th. The morning of the purse bid, Benn withdraws Frazer Clarke. You've heard the story already. Would have been a big showdown, possibly at Portman Road, Ipswich Town Stadium, the biggest payday of Frazer Clarke's career and Fabio Wardley's. Shalom argued that Clarke needed more rounds under his belt before challenging for the British title, and was puzzled as why the purse bids were called. What they should have said is he lost control of the situation. He claims he's got over the frustration. He said as long as him and Fabio end up fighting for the British title, he's okay. If not, he'll go on a angry spree. Well, because Benn called him out, he won't be able to fight for that title for a year or participate in a purse bid for a year. He said, let's not beat around the bush. I don't think they, meaning Sky, wanted him to box on DAZN. He said he could either make the situation make or break him, and he said for a few days he was all over the place in training camp, really pissed off, but now he's okay. He takes on Marius Watt on June the 18th on the undercard of ADAMES'S versus Aram Fanian at the York Hall on Sky Sports. Eubank and Leo Smith is officially cancelled, and Savannah Marshall against Frenchon Cruz will be moved to the headlining bout in its place. Liam claims he wouldn't have been able to make the July the 1st date because he was injured. Cali Sowland, he branded the situation odd and disturbing due to the fact that he hasn't seen any apparent provided proof of injury or was consulted before the rescheduling was announced. The initial rematch was supposed to take place on June the 17th, then moved to July the 1st. Looks a bit suspicious on Liam Smith's part. There is a rematch clause in place, but it all depends if Eubank is prepared to wait around, and I don't think he will. And Eubank Smith being cancelled has been a fluid story today. I discovered this tweet from Eddie Hearn. Just a picture of Eubank and Conor Benn. No message attached to the tweet, no words at all, and what looks like an emoji in the corner. What does this mean? Are Callie, Nice, Eddie, Conor and Chris considering getting this back on? It looks like it. So French on cruise, Savannah Marshall main event. Zach Chelly will challenge Mark Heffron for the British super middleweight title, and that's not a bad fight. And Ben Whittaker, he'll return to action. Come around very quickly. Leigh Wood lost his WBA featherweight crown to Mauricio Lara, the Mexican. And Saturday, we will have the rematch at the Manchester Arena. There was discussion whether Ben Davison threw the towel in a little early. Leigh Wood was very much in the fight, possibly ahead on the scorecards when Lara closed the show in the 7th round. Basically, Leigh was throwing a left hand and got beaten to it by Lara's left hand and got decked. He punched for his legs out of sync, and Ben Davison threw the towel in. Wood was very disappointed, and we have the rematch. Some people don't believe a rematch is necessary. I'm inclined to agree, although it was an excellent fight though. I mean, in terms of aesthetics of the first fight, it would be definitely worth seeing again if it's as good as the first one. Adjustments, well, I'm not a boxing coach, but it seems pretty obvious. Don't hook with the hooker. Leigh Wood said he's watched the punch that knocked him out 40 times. He said his confidence isn't dented. He draws experience from losing his first British title attempt against Gavin McDonnell, then coming back and winning it against Jazza Dickens. And, you know, if he says his confidence isn't dented, that's excellent. That's excellent. Jack Catterall, he'll be on the undercard. He returns to action for the first time since his controversial fight last February.
Adam Smith, we've just seen Josh Taylor retain his undisputed crown with split decision win over Jack Catterall. Adam, your immediate reaction to that, please?
I thought it was a very bad decision.
Been very inactive, Jack. And he takes on Dara Foley, an Irish boxer who upset Robbie Davis. Dara came in for Liam PARO. He decked Robbie a few times. Robbie broke his ankle on one of the falls. Big upset, and Dara has been awarded with the Catterall fight. So looking forward to that. Terry Harper, she defends her WBA super welterweight title against Ivana Habazin. Campbell Hatton's on the card. Couple of undefeated prospects who I don't know much about. And this card is going head to head with a Coley versus William Smith. Now, some people are saying, well, why are they making the cards clash? Well, with Sky, DAZN and BT competing against each other on them weekend slots, it's inevitable cards are going to clash time to time, and this is one of them times. There's also an interesting fight in Belfast as Luis Alberto Lopez makes the first defense of his IBF featherweight crown that he took from Josh Warrington late last year in Warrington's hometown at the First Direct Arena, Leeds. Alberto has got 15 stoppages in 27 wins, 2 losses. Mexican resident, 29 years of age. Michael Conlan has got 18 wins, 1 loss to Leigh Wood, a classic fight from last year. He has hometown advantage, a good boxer, 31 years of age, a switch hitter, not a big puncher. I'm not going to say it's going to be decided on one punch to fight, but his lack of power is one of the reasons I've got it at 50-50. Lopez, he can box, he can bang, he can slug, and I believe if Conlan can't, Conlan did floor Leigh Wood, nearly had him out of there actually, to be honest, so he can bang a bit, But Lopez, I believe, is probably a little more durable, tough one to pick. Looking forward to that one too.